Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the Mythic Legions Valiant Knight. Now, this was a pretty cool release. They surprised everybody at Legions Con. This figure just was on the table. It wasn't announced. It wasn't, officially released or anything like that. It was just there. And if anybody waited in the line for the Four Horsemen table to pick up Mythic Legions, they would have been able to pick this guy up. I was working at the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom table, as some of you may very well know, and so I had to wait till the very end of the day to get mine, but I'm very, very happy that I did. This looks like a fantastic release. This has the improved articulation that the Four Horsemen have been working on, which we won't see until, I think, the Necronominous wave, technically. But this is in many ways, a shape of things to come, and just sort of a hint of what we can expect from future releases. So let's take a look at the package. It's the typical Mythic Legions packaging. You got the Mythic Legions logo down at the bottom with a big old wide open kind of clamshell case. Collector friendly. It is sort of reusable, repackable, all that kind of stuff. So on the side, we get the Valiant Knight's bio. I am not going to read it, but feel free, if you want to pause it and read it. I don't think you can anyway, but it is on sourcehorseman.com. I believe that this is a unique card back. I don't think we've ever seen this card back before. I'm not familiar with this castle, although it does appear to have Selene on the top. There is sort of the Mythic Legions blurb on the back there. On the other side, we get not a faction sigil, but the icon for I believe it's Selene. Somebody mentioned to me that it is sort of Selene symbol, but it represents Helios and Selene, I think. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. That's not the important part. What's important is this figure and its articulation. So let's get this guy out of the box. All right, so here we have the Valiant Knight out of the box, and it's a pretty simple looking figure, to be perfectly honest. The aesthetic of it, though, is very, very nice. They've done a good job. There's a bit of a wash to it, so it looks a little bit like the armor has a little bit of tarnish to it. Like it's not a beautiful armor. It is a very sort of simple, very functional, very worn looking armor, and I don't know that it's going to necessarily pick it up on the camera. But there's some spotting and some kind of, discoloration in spots. It looks really, really good. It looks like a very sort of believable, realistic looking armor. You can see some dirt and grime, some kind of smudges and things like that. It's sort of I don't know how to describe it. It's sort of like a steel color of look. It's a little bit grayer than that, maybe. It's not quite gunmetal. It's not quite, a stainless steel. But altogether looks very, very nice. The color in general. It does have these hits of gold where there's some detailing, on the arms and on the elbows and a bunch of different little spots. The knees as well. Little hits of brown wherever there's buckles. A brown belt as well, some brown straps on the inside of the elbows. It is, to the best of my knowledge, a entirely brand new figure, top to bottom. I don't think there's anything on here that's reuse. The exception might be this loin piece, but I didn't, admittedly, go digging too deep to see whether or not that's original to this figure or whether we've seen that before. It looks similar to Vorthog's, but to be honest, I didn't even bother double checking. So let's just say that it's all brand new. It's a really good looking figure. The only nitpick that I have is this head, this style of helmet. I don't really care for. It feels quite big for the figure in terms of proportions as well, which isn't that big of a deal. When we get to the accessories, I will sort of address why I really don't care whether or not I like this helmet, because there's something really cool going on here as well. that the Four Horsemen didn't have to do, but they did anyway, which is a bit of a surprise, but like I said, really, really cool. But we'll get there when we get to the accessories. As I said, just a very, very nice, very simple figure. Gives us a good idea of what we're going to see in future waves as far as articulation and that goes. And I'm very, very excited for that because the articulation on this is quite fantastic. First off, the armor on the chest is cut a little bit tighter. Typically, the armor comes out a little bit wider on the shoulders, and the arm typically would sort of come out to about there. This guy can get his arm right in front of his chest, and he can get his hands, once you bend the elbows, to cross over across his chest, which is really, really cool. That means he can now hold a sword with two hands. To the best of my knowledge, that was impossible in a Mythic Legions figure, because their shoulders just did not come in far enough. It wasn't possible. Another thing that is improved on this guy is the range of motion in the elbow, so we get more than 90 degrees. On older releases, it was more like kind of 60 or 70 degrees, but like I said, this guy will go more than 90 degrees, which is quite impressive as well. The leg is pretty similar. I don't think there's much different in the leg. We always had the ability to get a Jean-Claude Van Damme type of kick going on. It's similar there at the hip. It's got the rotation. It's still got the single jointed knee, with a little bit better extension of that knee. But I mean, that one isn't as big a deal. The rocker on the ankle appears to be a little bit better as well. So you can get a little bit more rotation in that to get him in a little bit sort of deeper lunged position if you want to. The torso, I think, will go further as well. So he will bend at his waist a little bit further. So, I mean, altogether, there's nothing groundbreaking here as far as the new articulation. There's nothing, we're not talking about SH Figure Arts import level of articulation. He's not Spider-Man either. It's a fully armored character. We don't need this guy to hit the hero pose, but he'll hit a whole lot of poses that he wouldn't before. And if you don't believe me, check out, just about anybody's Facebook page or Instagram page that's really good at posing Mythic Legions. This guy appears to be a dream. The other new thing that's going on, and this will come up again in the accessories, is that they've added articulation in the neck, and we will look at the accessories, and I'll go a little bit deeper with that. So let's take a look at the accessories. First, we've got an extra head. I don't know what these helmets are called. I mean, I think they all have sort of a name that sort of describes what they look like. I don't love this helmet either, but it is what it is. Getting an extra head with an army builder is kind of cool because it allows you to customize, have something different. For each figure, if you have a preference one way or the other, you can go ahead and pick one or the other. I think this is a new pauldron as well. I don't remember seeing these. Very simple, straightforward. I like the rivets though. Lot of potential for customizers with this figure, because I think there's a lot of people that are going to buy a lot of these with this articulation and really build out their armies, whatever faction it is that they may like. We get a bunch of extra hands. So we get fists. We get standard gripping hands with the horizontal, the horizontal articulation. The hinge that comes on the figure is the vertical hinge. So you get both vertical and horizontal hinged hands. We get this sort of bigger, more open gripping hand. So if you want to put something bigger in his hand, a bottle or a well, I don't know what you're going to put in his hand, but there you go. You have the option. And then the more emotive, wider spread hands. These are a lot of fun. I'm very, very surprised that with this sort of simple, basic figure, we got that many hands. But I think it's cool that we did, because it's going to give people the opportunity to see these new parts, the opportunity to kind of pose them up. And again, this figure, if you are a photographer, I think is going to be an absolute home run. Then, as far as weapons go, we get this, the old ball and chain. No, I think this is called a flail, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I won't be offended in the slightest, because I don't know what it's called. We get a sword and scabbard. Pretty straightforward, simple. We've seen these before. Mine has, you know, a little bit of a funny paint thing going on there, but I should be able to fix that, no problem at all. I'm not worried about it. I'm the least picky person as far as action figures go. These are fun though. I mean, that'll clip on his belt. It's nice that you get the scabbard. I like this. I like this sort of thinner, slimmer sword. Nicely painted blade, nicely painted hilt, handle, so on and so forth. And then to match the sword, we get a shield. We get this is a nice paint job, I gotta say. A lot of times we get them and it just has, you know, a faction sigil on it, no big deal. This is unique. You know, you got the fleur de lis there 3 times with the stripe. The handle's painted on this. I don't remember seeing a painted handle for a shield. Anyway, altogether, I think a pretty good loadout and a pretty great figure. Now, coming back to the head, which I said I don't absolutely love, and the alternate head, which, again, I don't really love, they've included a 2.0 neck peg as well. So you can literally run any head on this figure that you want, whether it's a 1.0 or a 2.0 head. And they've added articulation at the neck. So this will, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Hold on. This will give you a ridiculous amount of articulation in the neck. So this, and this is the same. This is the 2.0 version of it. But there's a 1.0 version of it on the figure as it comes in the box. But this will allow, you know, tons of range of motion for the neck, which we previously didn't really have in Mythic Legions. Now you can kind of go forward and back, but you can also set this up sideways and get a lot more head tilt as well. Again, for those sort of dramatic poses, you know, that you might want to get. So that is awesome. And like I said, to get the 2.0 adapter in there, as well as the 1.0 that is on the figure, is awesome, because like I said, you can now sort of build out these Valiant Knights with any race in Mythos that you want. So whether you want to do orcs, elves, vampires, skeletons, whatever you want, whatever spare heads you've got, you can put on this guy right here. All right, let's get this guy all loaded up and posed up, and I am actually going to pop that head off, put the 2.0 neck adapter on, and run a 2.0 head on mine. So here we have the Valiant Knight with the 2.0 head adapter. I have got the elf head from the elf builder pack that we got from the War of the Aether Blade wave. I've also included the loincloth from the Xylernian Guard that I had spare, because we got the plastic one as well as the fabric one. I put them in a super generic vanilla pose. I'm not the guy that does poses, okay? That's just not what I do well. Now, I know you're asking yourself, what do I do well? I don't know. Anyways, it's a great army builder. This is going to be a figure that I think people are going to probably want to get multiples of. It should be released with the Reinforcements 2 wave. I don't know that the Four Horsemen have given a date, like a hard date, but it's going to be sometime in early 2024. So if you want to get yourself a Valiant Knight, pay attention to the Four Horsemen. I'm sure they will announce it sooner rather than later. The Valiant Knight, fantastic figure, well worth the price to add to your collection. So go ahead and get yourself some. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss any new videos as they are released. Until next time, bye-bye.